feeds or back to alternative feeds, here's my philosophy. You got to get to them before everybody else gets to them. If you're thinking this year is the year to start using dry distillers grains, it's gone. Sorry. This is the bubble for distillers grains. It lasted from about 06 to about 2011. From that point on, these numbers over here that you see on this chart is the number of weeks in the harvest year that it was better to buy corn. In other words, distillers was purchased at a disadvantage to corn price-wise. Look how fun it was in 10 and 9. There was not a single week you could have bought just dry distillers grains any time of the year and you were wise. You didn't have to even do a calculation of anything. What are we looking at right now? There's 19 weeks since the crop year began for 13 and 14. 18 weeks dry distillers grains has not been a good purchase. So you're going to say, God, I got a ton of it in my yard. What are we going to do with it? We'll find another idiot that can buy it from you. We still use it. And I don't even want to see a show of hands. I use it. I use wet distillers and modified distillers in the feedlot. Why am I using it? Because it contains protein. Because it has other things that add value to it that are not reflected by the price. That's what an alternative feed is for. It has a little grease still to grease the diet. It keeps it together. I'm feeding some barley stuff, and it kind of holds that thing so it doesn't blow away. So it's still a good feed, but I'm not at the 40% we used to feed it before. We're down in the 10 to maybe 15%. And it adds protein back. So when you come back to the thing I said before, you use corn as a reference price. For the distillers grains, you also need to use soybean meal because it brings protein to the diet and it allows you to buy it for a little bit more than some of the values that we've been talking about. So you may remember the problem was earlier this year or last year, China did not want to buy our distillers grains. So if you were buying distillers grains consistently, all of a sudden you saw a dip in prices and you go, yeah, we're good again. No, you're not. China continued buying this distillers product, so we're back up to whatever it is, and somewhat out of range when we're only considering corn as a reference value. You have to consider now protein. So let's take these and separate them into 3 or 4 categories. One would be the corn processing co-products. What I have is just a quick reference to what the energy and protein content of each of them is, and then looking at corn as a reference value right here, mostly an energy feed, that's why it says E for energy, 90% on TDN, 9% on crude protein. Every other corn processing co-product, gluten feed, syrup, distillers, will have a higher concentration of protein. So we will call that a dual-purpose alternative feed for energy and for protein. The biggest disadvantage of some of these feeds is going to be moisture, so distillers solubles is 26, syrup, gluten feed 45%, distillers grains with about 35%. That's the thing that drives that little factor that we're going to talk about in a few minutes up or down, moisture. And we're going to show you some of that. Now, another interesting thing then for corn co-products is to kind of wrap them into one category. They're a high energy co-product, okay? They're high energy and it tends to be a high protein co-product. When we move to the small grains co-products such as barley, barley malting, grain screenings, wheat mints, we're going to drop on energy. We may retain some good dry matter on them, so we're going to trade pretty well to corn and some of those because mostly they're dry. And on the protein, the only one that's fairly low is going to be barley and screening, so we're going to call them energy providing only. For barley malting and wheat mints and many others, we're going to have both energy and protein coming out of that. Fairly good sources. You can still buy some of these at very decent prices relative to corn, and we'll come back to price